A question we're asked a fair amount of the time is what kind of debts can you actually help with? Well, you can start really general and get very specific. So generally speaking, we're dealing with what's known as unsecured debts. What's an unsecured debt? So there's pretty much three types of debts. There's preferred, secured, unsecured. A preferred debt, that's something like child support, spousal support, parking tickets, speeding tickets, court fines. These are things you're not getting out of. The only way to get out of these is to go to court and pretty much beg for mercy or show that the situation you're in is incorrect. That would also, preferred debts would also include what's known as source deductions from a sole proprietorship, but that doesn't come up too often. If it does, obviously we'd advise you accordingly. Then you're left with secured and unsecured debts. So what's the difference? Easiest way to determine the difference between a secured debt and an unsecured debt is to think to yourself or ask yourself a question: what would happen if I don't pay this debt? So if you think of something like a car loan, a lease, a mortgage, those are secured debts. If you don't pay your car loan, very big people are going to show up and take your car away sooner or later. If you don't pay your mortgage, it's a rather long and drawn out process, and usually a big guy doesn't show up, but he might. But ultimately, you're going to have to leave that house at some point if you don't pay the bill. An unsecured debt, though, think about it. If you don't pay your credit card or you don't pay your line of credit, a line of credit that we're assuming isn't attached to the house, what happens? Well, you're probably going to get a phone call. And then you'll get another phone call, followed by messages, followed by letters, followed by more phone calls and letters, at which point your original creditor will probably get really sick and tired of you, at which point they will send your debt to a collector. And then the collector will start calling you and sending you letters and calling you some more. And then somewhere around month 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it can take as much as a year. Your creditor will usually make a decision, and they'll say, okay, you know what, we can keep chasing this guy forever, or we can sue him. And by suing, that means they serve you with court papers, they go to court, they try to get a judgment. If they get a judgment, they can then put a writ or a writ on your property, or if that fails, they'll usually opt for the garnishment on your wages. Now, notice the difference. Look what it takes to collect for an unsecured debt versus secured debt. If you don't pay your car loan, it's very simple. You just show up and take the guy's car. Much more difficult with credit cards. So unsecured debts, now that you know this, unsecured debts, you should be getting a picture. Credit card, loan, line of credit, payday loans, business loans, student loans even are unsecured. They get some special privileges, but that's another video. Taxes are unsecured debts most of the time. Unless CRA has placed a lien on your property, taxes can be treated as unsecured debts. What I mentioned earlier, the preferred one, we'll get into that in another video as well. But even vehicle and mortgage shortfalls are unsecured debts. Now, you may be thinking, wait a second, the bald guy just said that vehicle loans and house loans, mortgages, are secured. Now he's saying they're unsecured. No, I'm saying shortfalls are unsecured. If you own a car, if you're financing a vehicle and you still owe $20,000 and you fail to make your payments, well, eventually, as I said, the big guys will show up and they'll take your car away. Well, that car isn't just going to sit in the lot. It may for a short period of time, but they're going to try to sell that car to someone else. Maybe they sell that car for $12,000. So you owe $20,000, but your car's worth $12,000. That means there's an $8,000 shortfall. That's unsecured debt. You can only repossess a car once. So ultimately, vehicle shortfalls, mortgage shortfalls, if there's anything, for example, if someone has to foreclose on your house and there's money left over owing to the creditors, that's a shortfall. All those debts can be addressed through restructuring, whether it's a consumer proposal or a bankruptcy. So again, the three major debts: preferred, secured, unsecured. And what are unsecured debts? They're debts that if you don't pay them, creditor has a hell of a time trying to collect, but they still can. So you're best off doing something about it if you're unable to manage the debts. Hope that helps.